Hey guys, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know what time you are watching it. So today I'm here to talk about different topics. So my channel, as you guys have noticed, if you have been here for more than once, I'm always talking about different subjects. And today I just wanna make a review about one of the books that I read in 2025 so far, and I really enjoy it. It's a historical fiction, and it's a really great book, so that's why I wanna talk about it today. So I'll start just making a brief review about it. I'll give my opinion. I'll try not to give any spoilers, so you guys, if I do, I'll make sure to let you guys know so you can just speed up a little bit, but hopefully I'm not, okay? So basically, guys, the book I'm reading, it's called The Memory, Keeper of Kyiv. The history happened in Ukraine, and the book was wrote by Erin Litteken. It's very likely I'm mispronouncing, and I apologize. And so the book, guys, has basically two phases, I would say. One phase is in the present, in 2004. Cassie, she is living in United States, and the another phase, it is in 1930. It starts in 1939, and her grandma is living in Ukraine during the Soviet Union. Okay, so the book starts with Cassie. She lives in USA. She is living with her daughter. She has gone through a very difficult phase because she lost her husband months ago, and she has been very depressive, and she hasn't left her house for months. Neither her kid, her child is not going to school. She has a daughter. The daughter is a 4 years old child, and the daughter, she was in the car accident when Cassie's husband suffered the car accident. So Birdie was with her daddy. They went to have some ice cream, and then Cassie, she was inside her house. She was working. She worked writing at the time, and then when her husband goes out with his daughter to have ice cream, they go by car, and unfortunately there is a car accident. The husband doesn't survive, just the child, but the child gets very traumatized in a level that she stops talking. So after the car accident, she is put in a induced coma for a few weeks, and then once she comes from the coma, she's not talking anymore. Doctors advised her mom that this is more emotional. This is emotional, so an emotional situation, and then they just want to give time for Birdie, which is Cassie's daughter, to recover from her trauma and eventually start talking. So basically, Cassie's leaving this house with her daughter, just both of them. They're not leaving their house. They are literally just there surviving, and then eventually, Cassie's mom goes to Cassie's house, and when she gets there, she starts talking to Cassie how worried she is about her daughter and about her grandchild as well, because they have lived in those situations for a while, and she's worried about them. Cassie, of course, gets a little annoyed about it because she's still suffering from her loss, but then her mom suggests her to go to her to Cassie's grandma's house to live with her grandma, because then both of them could help each other, because Cassie's grandma was going through a very difficult phase. She was starting to forget things. She almost went through an accident, and Cassie's mom was worried about her as well as worried about Cassie and her child. So then her mom suggests that both of them go live together, and then eventually they can help each other. Cassie initially didn't want to agree with it, so she went to a walk, and then she comes back, and then she made her mind, and then she decides to go to her grandma's house with her daughter, so then they could help each other. Okay, so then there's another phase of the book, which it is okay. So I don't want to mix up the story. Sorry. So then Cassie, she goes to her grandma's house, and then she starts living with her grandma. Okay, during so the book's always breaking the phases. So now the book's talking about Cassie's, and then eventually the book is gonna start talking about a lady called Katya, who is living in the Soviet Union in during the 30s, 1929, 1930. Katya, she lives in Ukraine, as I mentioned, and she is a 15 years old girl. She lives with her sister and with her parents. They have their farmer, so they are producing whatever they can in their farm, and they have a very decent life. However, since it was Ukraine was forced to join the Soviet Union, Ukraine had to obey whatever the Soviet Union was imposing to them. During the from 19 to the 30, the book shows that Cassie was living her life with her parents. She was in love with a guy who had a brother, and this brother was getting married to her sister, and she was in love with this boy, so they were planning to get married as well. However, they were not planning. Actually, she never told him she liked him, but he knew she liked him, and he loved her as well. So he started talking more and more to her and showing his feelings. And Katya, she was a more strong girl. She didn't want to show very much her feelings, but she obviously she had feelings. So eventually, her sister got married to the brother of the guy she was in love, and she saw that her sister was very happy. Eventually, the guy she was in love, I was supposed to write down his name. I didn't write down. I apologize. I'll leave here so then you guys can have as reference. And then the guy she was talking, and she loved as well. He offered to get married to her. But the only problem was that the Ukrainian was going through a very difficult phase because the Soviet Union soldiers, they were not just the soldiers, but whoever were working for the Sovietics, they were starting to imposing people to join the communism party initially. If you are joining the communism party, then you would be producing for the government, and then eventually the government would be paying you in with food, with whatever you needed. Technically, the government would be paying you because you are joining the communism party. You are working for the government for because you believe that's what it should be would be good for the economy at that time. Those people who believed. There were another side of the people, they didn't believe about it, they didn't agree with it, and of course they didn't want to join the communism party. They want to be independent, they want to have their own production, they want to be sufficient producers. And then for those people, who were not joining the communism party by themselves, right? Then the Soviet Union were putting some people who were working for them, and most of them they were people that already joined the communism, so they were like people from the community, but the difference is that those people, they joined the communism, And some of them, along with soldiers and whoever was from the Soviet Union, they started going to the house of the Ukrainian people who did not join the Communism Party. Initially, they were asking for their production as a way of paying their tax. So they were going to the houses and then they started knocking there and then asking for food because they had to pay for the tax and they didn't want to join the Communism Party. And this is specifically what happened to Katya's family. So Katya families didn't join the Communism Party initially because they didn't agree with that. But still, almost every week, people were going to their house and collecting their production. And then eventually, everything was getting more and more difficult. So in the meantime, Katya, she gets married to her best friend. She started living with him. However, they have, since the Communism Party were like forcing them more and more often to give their production, they had all to live together. I'm not gonna give more spoiler about this situation. So talking about the Communism Party and the Soviet Union, what they were doing at that time, apart from whatever I said, so initially they were making you produce, you give your production if you didn't join the Communism Party. So if you didn't join the Communism Party, they were going to your house, they were knocking there, and then whoever was doing it, who was joining the party, most of the time they were very aggressive and they were trying to take advantage for you. They started looking, if you said you didn't have food, you don't have food anymore because you already gave whatever production you had. They start looking for your house. They start looking if you had anything, and if you had hidden anything, it's gonna be even worse for you because it means that you're hiding products from the government, right? Okay, so the Soviet Union at that time, according to the book, and of course I made my own research, I'll leave below so you guys can have a deep research about it. So what they were doing it is, who was the main target at the beginning? The main target were people that they considered as kulaks. Who were the kulaks? Kulaks, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, kulaks were the big farmers of Ukraine. So they had like farmers, big farmers, they have the tools, they have the knowledge, they have the influence, they have the power, right? And if you think about the farmers in Ukraine, were approximately 80% of the population were farmers, right? Because Ukraine is an agricultural country, so they produce a lot of agriculture, right? Anyways, so the Soviet Union, they target the kulaks, they started looking for them, and then trying to get rid of the big farmers, the wealth farmers, right? And whoever didn't want to join the Communism Party, they considered those people as kulaks. So they were treating those people as kulak. Okay. So okay. After explaining this, going back to Cassie and Katya, they were living in two different periods and places. Cassie, she moves to her grandma's house and she realizes that her grandma is having some very awkward behavior. She's hiding food in different places of the house, even outside of the house. So she starts worrying about it, and then she's gonna get more curious about her grandma's life, and then eventually she will want to learn more about what happened with her grandma, right, in the past. So because her grandma was having that behavior. And then from there, I'm not gonna say anything more about Cassie. The only thing I wanna say is that her grandma, Mrs. Bobby, she had a neighbor that was Cassie's age, and then this neighbor was always helping Cassie's grandma, Miss Bobby. And then Cassie, she gets a little suspicious about it. Why this guy is always helping my grandma? That's very suspicious. But eventually she's gonna realize that she doesn't have to be very suspicious about this guy. And I'm not gonna say anything more about it because you guys have to watch it. And then yeah, anyways, and then going back to Katya. Again, she was living in Ukraine during the 1930s, and she gets married to her best friend, her sister as well. They are trying to survive during that very difficult phase, right? And one of the ways she finds to help her family to hide food from the government, from the Soviet Union, it is what? I'm not gonna tell you guys because you guys have to watch it. If I tell, then I'll be giving spoil. So I don't wanna give, but you can use your imagination about it and eventually read the book. Okay, so anyways, guys, I just want to 16 minutes so far. I don't want to talk more. I mean, it should be a very short video, but what I want to say it is during the 1930 and 32, Ukraine had what they call Holodomor. So Holodomor was a historical case. It indeed happened in Ukraine, and it is what it is discussed in this book. So indeed, Ukraine was she was forced to be part of the Soviet Union, right? And then during the 1930 and 32, Ukraine was forced to give Ukrainian people, the farmers, the kulaks, whoever had the production, whoever was producing in Ukraine, they were forced to give their production to the Soviet Union. Being part or not of the communism, the difference is that if they were part of the communism, they were going to specific places to work in farmers for the government, for the Soviet Union, and then after they finished their work, the Soviet Union, the Communism Party was giving payments with bread or milk, whatever they had there. Okay, so it indeed happened a lot of people more. The average is that from 3.5 million to 7 million people died during the Holodomor, during those 2 years. And the main reason is that the Soviet Union were collectivizing their production, so whatever they were producing, they were taking it, right? And they were exporting it because they want to increase their production, they want to increase their GDP, they want to show to the world that communism indeed works, right? So, but the way they did it to Ukrainian people were the most cruel way you can imagine. So they were literally taking the production from those people. They were making those people die without food, literally die in starvation. Unfortunately, there are cases where people were literally dying that they had to eat other human to survive. Remember, to survive. When you are in a starvation situation, you just want to survive, right, guys? I have never been in this situation. I just know that when I get hungry, I get very stressed and very hungry. So I can imagine me without eating for days. Okay, and was very cruel what they did in that time. This is a historical case. The writer, she has a bachelor in history, so she made a lot of research about it. Her grandma lived in Ukraine during the Holodomor, and even though her real grandma, didn't go through what she says here, because she was living the another side of Ukraine, she confirms that indeed it was a really terrible, dreadful situation for Ukrainian people. And eventually you guys will realize that at the end of the book, the writer will talk about it, but also leave here an article that I was reading about it, is that the Soviet Union, they really wanted get rid of the Ukrainian people, and it seems that that's what they want to do, because they were literally taking food from them, and it seems that they wanted those people to die. And then it seems that the idea was to get rid of them, and then bring Soviet people to live there, and then they would have Ukraine for them, right? So yeah, it didn't happen in the whole Ukraine. It was just one side of Ukraine, right? And yeah, so what else I can tell about it, guys? Some kids, they were being sent to specifically schools where they were being teaching about what was right in terms of being a communist. And then if they saw that anybody from their family or friends or whoever they knew, kids, they were not following what the communism party asks them to follow, they were giving those people names to the Soviet Union. And it was easy at the time because there was many of them there, so they were being taught in the school how they should behave. And then yeah, this is exactly what the Karl Marx book says about educating the kids. Make sure they go to school and then give the education they think they should have. And then Anthony Gransky also says about it in terms of it's through the education you can also teach whatever you want people to believe. And then that's what was happening as well. It was very scary for me when I was reading it, and yeah, that's so true. Anyways, guys, I just wanna remind you all that it really happened in Ukraine. It's a historical case, and millions of people died. Many countries already considered it as a genocide, because it seems that they wanna get rid of the Soviet Union, as I mentioned. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video. And now so far 23 minutes. I was expecting to record a video of 10 minutes, but that's fine. Again, I apologize for my English mistakes, guys. It's my second language. I'm still improving, and eventually I'll be perfect. Not perfect, but at least as good as I am in Portuguese. And I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys are gonna take a chance and read about this book, because it's a very interesting book, and there's so much you can learn about history, about what happened, and never allow it to happen again. Okay, see you guys, bye.